Hello everyone, welcome back to the session. So in today's class we are going to discuss about the short answer question in the organic evolution. Okay, so this is in the second year, alright. So far we have completed the long answer questions of both first year and second year, and also we have finished the short answer question in the chapters in the first year, all the chapters in the first years. Okay, so the pending lesson in the short answer question will be pending only in the second year. That too will be only 2 chapters. Okay, we are left with the 2 chapters, and today we are going to complete 1 chapter, and tomorrow's class we are going to complete another chapter. By tomorrow we'll finish all the long answer questions and the short answer questions in both first year as well as the second year. Okay, and from day after tomorrow we are going to start with the very short answer questions. Okay, so in today we are discussing about the short answer question in the organic evolution. This is with respect to the second year. Okay, so the first question will be distinguish between the homologous and analogous organs. Okay, so first you should know what is mean by homologous organs and what is mean by analogous organs, and what is mean by convergent evolution, what is mean by divergent evolution, what is adaptive radiation. Okay, and what is its example. So these are all an important things with respect to this homologous and analogous organs. Okay, let's start. See, homologous organs and analogous organs, how their structure will be. Okay, see, their structure will be different, and their in analogous organs their structure will be different. In case of homologous organs it will be similar, in case of analogous organs it will be different. Okay, let me explain you a little bit very elaborately. See here, this is an ancestor. Okay, so this is an ancestor. As the time goes on, this leads to another species, and as a result this one ancestor gives rise to 2 different species, and this process is called speciation over a period of time. Okay, as the changing environment, as the environment is changing and the species is also acquiring some of the new characteristic features, so it will be divided into, it's not divided, it will be evolved into 2 different species. It may be 2 or more than 2 different species. Okay, see here, they are having a common ancestor. Okay, so they are having a common ancestor. So from the common ancestor they have been evolved into 2 different species. Okay, so this is what a divergent evolution. Okay, so we can also call them as the adaptive radiation. See, one common ancestor. Okay, so from this one common ancestor, as the environment changes, they are also acquire some new characteristics for the changing environment. It results in the speciation, which means one common ancestor gives rise to 2 or more different species. Okay, so that is why we are saying that as a divergent evolution, as one ancestor diverge into many species. So that is what a divergent evolution. So we are having a common ancestor. As it is having a common ancestor, their structure are similar in nature. Okay, their structure will be similar, the functions may different. Okay, see, and the analogous organs, 2 different ancestor. Okay, so 2 different ancestor which has no relation at all, and they are not having a similar geographical location, they are in a different geographical location, they are a different ancestor. Okay, but this ancestor, they are having a structure, maybe hand structure, four-limb structure, any of the four-limb structure. So their structure will be different, but their function will be same. Okay, so this four-limb will be in a different structure, and here it will be in a different structure, but they are performing a similar function with the help of that four-limb. Okay, so their structure will be different and their function will be similar. So 2 different ancestor, by their function they are converged with each other. So this evolution is called as a convergent evolution. Okay, so the 3 important things with respect to this homologous and analogous organs will be the structure and function, and what will be their evolutionary significance. Okay, see here, they are having a common ancestor in case of homologous organs. Okay, see, homologous organs, they are having, so as I have mentioned you before, we are having a common ancestor. From this common ancestor, it will be diverged into two different species. Okay, so this is called as a divergent evolution, and this divergent evolution, so this is what a homologous organs. Why it is called as a homologous organs? Because their structure is same and their function may differ. Okay, so this is what a homologous organs. So what if in case of this convergent evolution, two different species, okay, which have no relation at all, their structure will be different and their function will be similar. So that is what an analogous organs. Okay, so the structure will be different and their function will be similar. Okay, so that is what here the structure will be similar in case of homologous organs. In case of analogous organs, the structure will be different. What if with respect to the function? The function in the homologous organs, they may differ, but in analogous organs, that is same. Okay, so this evolution is called as a divergent evolution in case of homologous organs. In case of analogous organs, it will be the convergent evolution. Okay, so what if with respect to this origin? Okay, so this homologous organs, they are having a common ancestor, and analogous organs, they are having a different ancestor. Okay, so this is what a same and different. Okay, so right, fine. Next, what are all the examples? The forelimbs of vertebrate. Okay, see, the forelimbs of vertebrate in bat. Okay, and the whale and cat and in the human. Okay, see, in bat the forelimbs are responsible for flying. Okay, in whale the forelimbs are responsible for swimming. In cat it is responsible for walking. In human we are using the forelimbs for writing. It's our hand. Okay, so this is what their structure will be similar but their function will be different. So this is what a divergent evolution. They are having a common ancestor, their function may differ. So this is all with respect to the homologous organs. Now the analogous organs, here the wings of butterfly and the wings of birds. Okay, see, the wings of butterfly will be very big. Okay, and the wings of butterfly will be very small, but both of these wings are responsible for flying. Even though their structure is different, their function is similar. Okay, so that is what a analogous organ, convergent evolution, they are having a different ancestor, right? So this is an important thing, kindly make a note of it. Now see here, so these are all the homologous organs. See, they are having a four limbs of human, four limbs of dog, four limbs of bird, four limbs of whale. They are having a common in their structure, but in human they are doing a certain functions, in dog they are doing a certain function, in bird they are doing a certain function. Their function will be different. Okay, so in analogous organs, see, their structure will be different but both are responsible for flying. So this is very, very important. Okay, now the second question, write a short note on the theory of mutation. But before that, you should know what is meant by mutation. A mutation is a change in the DNA. Okay, change in the nucleotide. So that is a sudden variation. So mutation is a raw material for evolution. We know that. Okay, without mutation, evolution doesn't gonna happen. Okay, so who proposed the mutation theory? Hugo de Vries. This carries 1 mark. Okay, so Hugo de Vries is the one proposed the mutation theory. So what is the definition of this mutation? So mutations are sudden. Okay, it is sudden, random, it is not specific, it is random, it is inheritable changes in organisms. It is inheritable in some of the organisms. Okay, so mutations are sudden, random, inheritable changes. All these carries 1 mark. So this is very, very important, as this is the definition of the mutation. Okay, now say for an example, evening primrose. Okay, evening primrose, Enothera lamarckiana. Okay, so this is a plant and Enothera brevistylis. Okay, it is they are having a small style, and Levifolia they are having a smooth leaves, and Gigas gigant form, and Nanila they are having a different dwarf form. All these belongs to the same species. Okay, so all these belongs to the same genus, but they are belongs to the different species under the same genus. So this is what all these because mutation. Okay, so who studies about this mutation? T.H. Morgan studies the mutations in the Drosophila melanogaster. Drosophila melanogaster is nothing but a fruit fly. Okay, the scientific name of fruit fly is called as a Drosophila melanogaster, and T.H. Morgan studied the mutations in the Drosophila melanogaster. Now, see, Darwin called these mutations as the sports of nature, and Bateson called them as a discontinuous variations. Anyhow, all the scientists have mentioned about this mutation, because mutation is the raw material for evolution. So, mutation is mandatory. So, that is why Darwin called mutation as a sports of nature. Okay, and the Bateson is calling mutation as the discontinuous variations. What are the salient features of the mutation theory? See, they occurs randomly in the naturally breeding populations. Okay, so there is a population without any, see here, so as I have mentioned you before, there is a species, there is a common species, there is a species, one ancestor is there. So as a changing environment, if the ancestor doesn't acquire, if there is no, if this ancestor doesn't acquire any of the new variation, it couldn't survive. Okay, it will be out of the competition, and it will evade from the ecosystem. Okay, so that is why, due to the changing environment, it undergoes some mutation as in the genetic, in the molecular level, and this mutation leads to genetic variation. This leads to new species, and we are calling them as an evolution. Okay, so if as the changing environment, the organism has to change themselves. Okay, so how they can change? Okay, in the means of mutation. So that is what it is, randomly. It is a random, it is not specific in a naturally breeding population. Now it is discontinuous, it is not continuous. Okay, mutation is discontinuous, and it is not accumulated over generations. Now it is full-fledged, no intermediate forms. Okay, there will be no intermediate form. So in the chordates we have studied about, there is an annelida, there is an arthropoda, and peripatus they are having a characteristic features of annelida, also they are having a characteristic features of arthropoda. Okay, so this peripatus is considered as a transitional state. It is considered as a connecting link between annelida and arthropoda. But here in mutation, it will be full-fledged. There is no intermediate forms like a connecting link. Okay, so subjected to a natural selection. See, just listen to me. Many of the species living in the particular environment, all the organisms tend to change according to the changing environment, but which changes has been correct for the changing environment, that has been decided by the natural nature. Okay, that is what we are calling them as the natural selection. Okay, see, just listen to me, let me explain you once again. See, we are having a different species. Okay, we are having a different species. As the environment is changing, all the organisms ready to change themselves according to the changing environment. But you should know that not all the changes are required for the changing environment. Only the specific changes are necessary, and that will be adopted to the changing environment. That adaptations, that changes has been selected by the nature. So this is called as a natural selection. So mutation theory is applicable for this, is subjected to the natural selection. So that is what the theory of mutation proposed by the Hugo de Vries. Okay, now the third question will be, explain the Darwin's theory of natural selection with industrial melanism. Okay, so this industrial melanism is very important concept. So how can we define the industrial melanism? See, organisms with favorable variation survive and reproduce, while those with unfavorable variations are eliminated. This leads to evolution over generations. As we have mentioned before, according to the changing environment, organism has to change. Okay, so not all the changes are adopted or necessary, or not all the changes are correct for the changing environment, but instead that changes, whether it will be correctly adopted or wrongly adopted, that will be selected by the nature. So we are saying that as a natural selection. Okay, so that is what only favorable variations will survive and reproduce, and the unfavorable variations are eliminated. Okay, so this is what a natural selection. So ultimately this will be, this selections, these variations will be selected by the natural selection, and this leads to an evolution over generation. So this is what we keep on studying throughout the evolution. Now, what is with respect to the theory of natural selection, how it is getting selected? See how we can select, how the nature is selecting. Variation exists in population according to the changing environment, no doubt in that. But here the competition occurs for the limited resources. See, say for an example, consider this as an ecosystem. This is a forest. There is species 1, species 2, many species are here. Okay, the environment is changing, and all these species are adopting to the changing environment, and all are surviving and reproducing. Okay, but all the species are fit to the changing environment, all the species are reproduced. This leads to competition. Why it leads to competition? Because there is a limited resource. Where there is a limited resource, when compared to the population, definitely that leads to competition. Okay, now who is now species 1 is there, species 2 is there, and both are having the same limited resources. Now who will win? Okay, who is very efficient, who can fight, who can win the competition, that will survive, and the other species will be removed from the ecosystem. Okay, so this is what, and differential survival and reproduction results in the adaptation. Now for this limited resources, if the species 2 is not competing this species 1, the species 2 has another option. What is the second option? What is the second option is, the species 2 can adapt themselves to eat some other resources. Okay, so see, the species 1 and species 2 both are competing for the same limited resources. That's why it leads to competition. Okay, and when compared to the species 1 and species 2, species 1 is the strongest and species 2 is the weakest. Now species 2 has two options. Either it has to be adopted to some other resources, or it has to be eliminated from the ecosystem. If it is eliminated from the ecosystem, the entire species will be destroyed. Okay, so further the species 2 will be adopt themselves for the next resources. Okay, some other resources. So species 1 and species 2 can avoid the competition, both can share the same ecosystem. So this is what a natural selection. Okay, now, what will be the experimental proof with respect to this industrial melanism? See here, the industrial melanism in peppered moth. Okay, very important. Peppered moth, Biston betuliaria. This is the scientific name of the peppered moth. Okay, what is the observation? There is two color forms. One is grey and one is black. Okay, so before industrialization, grey moths were common. Okay, so industrialization means what? Before most of the industries has been developed, this grey color moths will be predominant. That is common. Okay, but after the during the 1 minute. But during the industrial revolution, black moths became more abundant in the polluted area. See, before the industries have been predominant, before many industries have come, gray moths, so we have studied about the peppered moth, that is Biston betullaria. Okay, so two different colors will be seen in the peppered moth. One is gray color and another one is black color. Okay, so we have to compare two incidents. One is before industrialization and after industrialization. Before industrialization, there will be no industries, no pollution. Okay, so gray color moths were common in that area. Okay, now after industrialization, the pollution will be more. Okay, the pollution is more and the black colors become predominant and common in nature. Why? Before industrialization, gray color moths are common. After industrialization, because of pollution, black color moths are common. Why is that so? We can experiment in this. Okay, see, there is a background. Okay, so before industrialization, gray color moths were common. Before industrialization, there will be no pollution. As there is a no pollution, the background is very common. Okay, both gray color will be common. See, there is a white background. In the white background, if the gray color will be there, okay, so in the white background, if there is a gray color, this peppered moth will not be identified by any of the predator as the color is getting matched with each other. Okay, but after pollution, after the industrialization, many industries, it leads to pollution. So this white color background changes into a black color as a result of a pollution. So if the gray color moth doesn't adopt themselves into the black color, it will be easily identified by the predator and entirely this peppered moth will be eliminated from the ecosystem. So now this gray color moth is changing themselves to the black color moth, so it will not be identified easily by the predator. Okay, now it will be escape from the predator. So this is what the theory of natural selection. Who is getting out of themselves, that will be selected by the nature and it can survive and reproduce and it can sustain with the population. So this is what the important thing. Okay, see, what is the reason? So darkened tree barks. Okay, gray moths become visible to predators and here the predators will be the birds. Okay, while black color moths can be camouflaged. Okay, as because of the darkened tree barks. Okay, so Ketwell's experiment released he is a Ketwell is the name of the scientist. He experiment something. Okay, so okay, what is the experiment? He released equal numbers of grey and the black moths in the polluted and unpolluted areas. Here the polluted areas is Birmingham and the unpolluted area will be the Dorset. Okay, so he both in the polluted as well as in the unpolluted, he released equal number of grey color moths as well as the black color moths. Okay, recaptured results. When he is recapturing the moths, more black moths survived in the Birmingham, more grey moths survived in the Dorset. See here, grey moths will be in the Dorset. Dorset is an unpolluted area. Unpolluted area, the tree barks are not black in color. Okay, the tree marks are not black in color. So the grey moths will not be easily identified by the predator. Okay, so the black moths will be easily identified by the predator. This is the scene why the grey moths will be survived in the Dorset. Okay, more black moths are survived in the Birmingham. Why? Because Birmingham is a polluted area. As is a polluted area, the tree barks are very dark. Okay, so as this is very dark, the black moths can be camouflaged and it will be escape from the predators. The white moths can be easily identified by the predator. Okay, so this is the result. Now, what is the conclusion by this industrial melanism? Survival depends on the fitness in the environment. The best example, an example of the natural selection. See, interesting note. What will be the interesting thing here? After pollution control laws, see here, this is very important. After pollution control laws, gray moths again it is increasing, shows a reversal of selection. So this is very important thing. Okay, so what do we have studied? Before industrialization there will be less pollution, the pollution is less and the gray color moths will be higher. Okay, after industrial revolution, after industrialization revolution, the pollution is very higher and the black moths will be higher. Okay, now what is another scenario? After the pollution control laws, once again the pollution is getting down and the gray moths is once again is increasing, which means the selection is reversing. So this is what a theory of natural selection proposed by the Darwin. Okay, now comes the fourth question. Discuss the role of different patterns of selection in the evolution. See, we have studied about the natural selection. So in the natural selection, we are having three different types of selection. Okay, so we'll see what is meant by that selection. Selection is a process by which organisms better adapted physically, physiologically, behaviorally to the environment, survive and reproduce. See, we have studied about this gray colored moths and black colored moths. They are adapting themselves physically, not physiologically and behaviorally. Physically, just by changing their color. Okay, sun can also, but the adaptation is not only restricted with respect to this physical, but also physiologically as well as behaviorally. Okay, so this is what a selection is. Now, what are all the different patterns of selection? So we are having three different types of selection. One is stabilizing selection, disruptive selection and directional selection. Okay, see, stabilizing selection. Okay, see, the red color denotes before selection and the blue color denotes after selection. Okay, see here, see the stabilizing selection. So we are having a long tailed squirrel and the small tailed squirrel. Okay, and the medium tailed squirrel. Okay, so in the stabilizing selection, both long and the small tailed squirrel will be eliminated. Only the medium sized tailed squirrel will be selected in the stabilizing selection. So that is what stabilizing, not both the extremes. But here extreme refers to large and the small. Okay, both large as well as the small will be eliminated from the stabilizing selection. Only the medium will be selected by the nature. Okay, so that is what a stabilizing selection. Okay, now directional selection. Directional selection here it refers to either it will be large or it will be small. Okay, not medium. Okay, so here the medium will not be selected. Either it has to be large tailed squirrel or it will be the small tailed squirrel, but not both. Okay, either it will be large or it will be small, but not medium, but not both. That is what a directional selection. Okay, disruptive selection, both large tailed squirrel will survive and the small tailed squirrel will survive, but not medium tailed squirrel. Okay, so this is what a stabilizing, directional and disruptive. Okay, I repeat, see, stabilizing means medium sized organs will survive. Directional means either it will be large or it will be small, but not both, but not the medium. Disruptive selection means both the extremes will favor this selection. Okay, either both large as well as the small. Okay, now see, this stabilizing selection is also called as the centripetal selection. Okay, so this eliminates extreme phenotypes at both the ends. Okay, so this eliminates, so eliminating extreme phenotypes. Here extreme phenotypes means large and the small. Okay, at both the ends. Preserves individual with average traits, which means the medium sized traits, maintain the population stability. So this is what a stabilizing selection. Now comes the directional selection. So the directional selection operates when the environmental conditions change gradually. Okay, whenever the environmental conditions are changing very slowly, so this selection can be chosen. Okay, so favors one extreme of the phenotypic distribution. Either it will be large or it will be small, but not both, but not the medium. Okay, shifts the population traits in a particular direction over the generation. So it will be only on one direction. So that is what a directional selection. Now the disruptive selection. See, stabilizing selection is also called as a centripetal selection, and here the disruptive selection is called as a centrifugal selection. Okay, so this disruptive selection is very rare. Okay, so the disruptive selection is very rare but important in evolution. So this is very important, but it is rare in case of evolution. Favors individuals at both the extremes over the medium sized, over the mean. Okay, so it can split a population into subpopulation. So this is a population, so this can split a population into subpopulation. Okay, leads to adaptive radiation and forms a new species, which means a convergent evolution. Okay, sorry, divergent evolution. Divergent evolution is adaptive radiation. So this disruptive selection is very important in evolution. This is the one leads to the adaptive radiation, that is nothing but a divergent evolution. So from one common ancestor it leads to different species. Okay, so this is what disruptive selection. So that's all about the different patterns of the selection in case of evolution. Now, the another question will be the neo-Darwinism. Here the neo-Darwinism integrates the Darwin's natural selection with Mendelian genetics. Okay, see, Darwin, the neo-Darwinism concept includes the Darwin's natural selection. See, the Darwin's natural selection plus Mendelian genetics, together we can call them as a neo-Darwinism. Okay, so modern discoveries like mutation, recombination to explain the evolution. Okay, so it is also called as a synthetic theory or genetical theory of the evolution. Okay, so that is what a neo-Darwinism. We are having 5 different factors, salient features with respect to the neo-Darwinism. The first one will be the gene mutations, because gene mutation is the main source for the evolution. Gene mutation means there is a change in the DNA sequence. Say for an example, we are having ATGC. Okay, so for example, here instead of T, the T is getting replaced by another A. Okay, so this is what point mutation. At one base there is a change occurs. So this is what we are calling them as a point mutation. So what is the effect of this point mutation? They produce new heritable variation in the phenotype. Okay, now chromosomal mutation. So here there will be 4 chromosomal aberrations we are having: deletion, duplication, inversion and translocation. Okay, so deletion in the sense, if there is a GAG-TC, so the T is getting deleted. Okay, so again, once again the T is getting duplicated. Okay, so GTTC, and what is meant by inversion? CTTG. Okay, the frame is getting inversed. And translocation means, see here, this is a chromosome, and this chromosome is getting here, and this segment will be exchanged here. This is called a translocation. Okay, so these are all the chromosomal mutation, and this chromosomal mutation leads to the phenotypic evolution. Phenotypic variation in the sense morphological variations. Okay, now the third important thing will be the genetic recombination. Genetic recombination in the sense, so here it will be occur in the meiosis. We are having 2 different types of cell division. Okay, meiosis and mitosis. Okay, so here the recombination will be occur in the meiosis, and the meiosis we are having Pachytene stage, prophase, anaphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase and telophase. In the prophase we are having leptotene, zygotene, pachytene, diplotene and diakinesis. And in the pachytene stage, this crossing over will be taking place. Okay, so crossing over is nothing but this is a chromosome. Okay, and this is another chromosome. This is a segment and this is another segment. The segments is getting exchanged. This is called as a recombination or crossing over, will be happening in the meiotic stage of prophase of the packaging. Okay. Now, natural selection. So, this variation, see here, as I have mentioned you before, one ancestor is getting evolved with the changing environment. Many species is getting evolved. So, that variation, either it will be positive or negative. Okay, but that will be selected by the nature, whether which variation is suitable for this changing environment, that will be selected by the nature. Okay, so those which favors the beneficial variations and it eliminates the harmful ones. Okay, do not create variation, but it drives the evolution. So this is very important. Now, reproductive isolation. So what is meant by reproductive isolation? So this is there is a population 1 and here it is a population 2, and this population they are having an all similar species, and this population they are having a similar species, but the species present in the population 1 and the species present in the population 2 are different. Okay, so this is what a reproductive isolation. The species present in the population 1 do not breed with the species present in the population 2. Okay, it is reproductively isolated. That's what a reproductive isolation. So this prevents the gene flow between the population, essential for formation of new species and maintaining the species integrity. Okay, so these are all the 5 key factors in the evolution. This is important in case of neo-Darwinism. Now comes another important question, that is the 6th question. In a population of 100 rabbits, which is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, 24 homozygous long-eared and short ears are recessive to long ears, and there are only 2 alleles for this gene. Find out the frequency of the recessive allele in a population. Okay, now what are all the given data in the question? Okay, so they have studied, so we have taken from the question that the population they are having 100 rabbits. Okay, in a population of 100 rabbits. Okay, so we have taken and write it. Okay, so now 24 are homozygous long-eared. Okay, so homozygous dominant, that is long-eared, that how many individuals? That is 24. Okay, short ears are recessive. Okay, short ears are recessive. So these are all the given data. Okay, now find out the frequency of the recessive allele. So they have given a total number of individuals and they have given a dominant individual, and we have to identify the recessive allele. Okay, now see here, what will be the formula for this Hardy-Weinberg equation? What is a Hardy-Weinberg equation? P square 2pq plus q square is equal to 1. So this is what an Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay, so P square plus 2pq plus q square is equal to 1. So P refers to frequency of the dominant allele, that is a long ear. Okay, Q refers to the frequency of the recessive allele, that is the short ear. And P square means here the frequency of homozygous dominant, which means, so here it will be, we can call them as the homozygous dominant. Say for an example, in the Mendelian genetics, the capital T capital means tall. Okay, capital T small t means again it is tall, and small t means it will be dwarf. Okay, so we are having 2t, so that is what homozygous dominant, capital T capital T. Okay, so that is why, so P is equal to P square. That is what a homozygous dominant. And here Q square is equal to frequency of homozygous recessive. Okay, so now what is the given data? We have to match them both. Okay, see, P square is equal to number of homozygous dominant rabbits. Number of homozygous, what will be the number of homozygous rabbits? That is 24. What will be the total population? That is 100. So what will be the P square? 0.24 will be the P square. Okay, now we have to identify the recessive alleles frequency. Okay, so the recessive allele frequency, how can we denote this? Q square, which means Q. Okay, so here we have given the question has been given the homozygous dominant, that is P square. They have given a P square. Okay, Now we have to identify what is P. Okay, if P square is equal to 2.4, P is equal to 0.49. It is an approximate data. Okay, if we identify the P, we can easily identify Q, because P plus Q is equal to 1 is a formula, Hardy-Weinberg's equilibrium. Now Q is equal to 1 minus 0.49, so it is equal to 0.51. So this is what the value of Q. Okay, so this is what a recessive alleles frequency. Okay, so this is the Hardy-Weinberg equation, another important concept. Okay, so finally the question, so question number 7 is, what is mean by genetic drift? Explain the genetic drift citing the example of founder's effect. First you should know what is mean by genetic drift, what is mean by founder effect. Okay, see, genetic drift means a random change in the allele frequencies in the population. There is a population, this population have different individuals belong to the same species. They are having in that there is a random changes in the allele frequency, they are having any changes. It is not due to the natural selection, especially it is significant in the small population. Okay, if the population have only the 100 individuals, here there are any random changes. So this random changes in the allele frequencies is called as a genetic drift, and you should know it is not due to the natural selection. Okay, so what are all the consequences because of this changes in the allele frequencies? What are the consequences? So that is fixation and loss. Allele frequencies reaches 1, allele becomes the only variant. Alleles reaches the 0 and alleles disappears. See, it may fix, it may lose. Either the thing can happen. Okay, so it reduces the genetic variation by eliminating the alleles with the low frequencies. If there is any low frequencies, if it is reaches 0, and that genetic variation will be that frequency will be eliminated from the ecosystem. So what are all the examples for this genetic drift? Founder effect and the bottleneck effect, and the question demands only the explanation of this founder effect. Okay, so you should know what is meant by founder effect, but before that just see this picture. This is a parent population where we can see this brown color and the gray color butterflies. Okay, so in the founder effect we can see, so this brown color butterfly has been separated as a newer population. Okay, so from the parent population, the gray color can be found as a new population. Some it will having a mixed population. So see here, from one parent population, some of the new population has been founded. So this is called as a founder effect. Okay, this occurs when a small population of a small group from a population starts a new isolated colony. From a bigger parent population, a new smaller population has been founded. This is called as a founder effect. Allele frequencies in descendants reflect the founders but not the original population. Okay, say for an example, one example is necessary in the founder effect. Say here, nearly 100% O positive blood group in red Indians is due to the isolation and founding individuals carrying predominantly O plus alleles. Okay, as I have mentioned here, see here, all the brown color has been separated, all the gray color has been separated. Okay, so that is why 100% O plus blood group in the red Indians. Why? It is due to the isolation and founding individuals carrying predominantly 0 plus alleles. Okay, so this is what a genetic drift and the founder effect. Okay, so that's all about this organic evolution chapter. We'll meet you in the next chapter. Okay, thank you so much.